Leo, congratulations on your TEDx talk. I would love, so for people that are watching this, to give them some, so I'd love to get first from you some context as to who you are, so that people know, yeah, who is Leo? What do you do professionally? Where are you in the world, etc.
I'm basically a strange combination of an economist by my original profession, but also an entrepreneur. And also, and this is strange, I've been the VP of a multinational corporation in the region where I live in Latin America. So based on all that experience, after I left my corporate career, I started writing and giving conferences on leadership and technological change. I live on those, basically on conferences. Nobody lives out of writing, but I love writing. And I wanted to give a TEDx talk basically for two reasons. One is that part of my profession is talking in public, and I love challenges. I've learned that when you do something difficult, the real effect is on all the rest of the things you can do. It's like it opened doors. So that was one of the goals. And the other one is I know that TEDx it's a great platform for marketing, although that's not the goal. The goal is to share ideas, but a side effect is that, hey, you've given a TEDx talk, you are different. So I wanted also to use it to build my brand.
Cool. Yeah. And so you're, I guess to give people some extra context, because there's some people that come to me and they're very much a beginner in their field. So they have no blog, no big following, no nothing. Some other people come to me and they're much more advanced. So they went to Harvard, and I have a client now who's got 2 PhDs and 2 master's degrees and whatever else. So you're probably, I would say you're on the upper end of that. And so I wanted to, for all the people that are watching, so you've got a massive following on LinkedIn. Your name one of LinkedIn top influencers for Latin America, 2018 or 2018, right?
By LinkedIn on 2018 and by the Entrepreneur Magazine 2019.
Right, cool. And I think there's a couple things that are interesting. When you came to me at first, you had applied for one TEDx event before, right? Or was
I've applied, for TEDxRioDeLaPlata like 3 years before.
Okay.
And now I know I did everything wrong.
What did you do wrong? Or like looking back on after like looking back on what your approach was, what do you see as the biggest mistakes you made?
The summary would be that I thought that the reviewers would fall in love with so I thought much more. I didn't think about the reviewers as humans having like a huge challenge and having thousands of proposals and having to choose, and so it's like I thought, hey, I'm Leo, I know myself, trust me. And I didn't think that there's probably 1,000 people with the same approach saying, hey, I will give a great talk, trust me. So it's like, I thought it was either easy or random, like the choice. So I said that when I saw my video, the submission video again like 2 months ago. It was horrible. It was like there was even a lot of noise in the background, and I wasn't even showing off my capabilities. The idea was not clear enough. It was boring. So yeah, and after my rejection, they rejected me at that time. Actually, it was even worse. They didn't reject me. It was, there was absolute silence. So the event came and I wasn't on the list. So it's like, I didn't even got a no there. But after that, I felt bad about it. And I said, okay, this is not for me. And I stayed like a couple of years under the radar without, knowing that I would love to do a TEDx talk, but not doing anything about it.
Right. Do you remember, because I have recordings of all the calls that like your initial call, a recording of it. Do you remember what you said to me around your, whether you thought that was an event that you could ever get invited at?
Not precisely, but I remember my feeling is that, hey, I was thinking of small events.
Yeah.
Like events where I would really be like the keynote speaker. Like, hey, let's find an event as small as possible for me to be the most important person presenting.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that, well, this TEDxRioDeLaPlata was completely out of my reach. Because also I know how professionally the team works and how they think the event and all the energy, all the intelligence they put there. And I said, hey, I won't pass those barriers. They won't approve me. I wanted to go to something easier, or even easier somewhere else, not necessarily in Argentina. But was that what I told you?
So you said, I have a direct quote from you. You said, I know for a fact. So the context is, for people watching, I sent out an email that was my analysis of the entire TEDx YouTube channel, and I had distilled down the events that historically perform the best. So there are certain TEDx events where the median across the YouTube channel is like 1,300 views or so for an average TEDx video, but there's some that drastically outperform that. And I had a ranking, right? And so like I think TEDxRioDeLaPlata was like number 4 or 3 in the world. So you replied to that email, and you said to me as well, I know this is a quote from you, I know for a fact that TEDxRioDeLaPlata will never accept me.
Okay.
That's what you said. And you also said that your perception was, it was an anti-business event. It was an event only for scientists and inventors and
yeah. Now I remember. In fact, there's a good learning, maybe even a future TEDx talk about it. It's, you don't know for a fact what you know for a fact.
Right.
So,
right. Cool. Okay. So, and we'll skip to the end of this story in a bit, but after 3 years, what made you decide to pursue? So 2000, my call with you, I think, was in early 2019. What made you decide to, after being turned down, deciding that this wasn't for you, what made you decide to, okay, like now is the time?
Basically, it was a combination of 2 factors. One is my own evolution, the thing that I've been growing in ideas, growing in the delivery of those ideas, but also, now I remember clearly that email so I got a lot of emails from you, many of them, so every person has different interests. The one that caught my interest was the database email, with all that review you did on views per, not per video, but per event. In fact, I remember that we talked a lot about that afterwards and other ways to analyze it, and you told me how you scraped it and everything. But it was a combination of I thought it was a good moment for me to do so, to run this race, but also I saw a different way to do it. So I saw in you someone that could hold my hand and take me to through a process instead of going into the wild alone and losing time like I did years before.
Mm. Yeah, because you lost years, right? It wasn't the minutes recording the video, your crappy video. It was the 2-3 years. Cool. Okay. Was there I was gonna have you answer your own reasons for choosing me as a person versus trying it on your own. So I think you answered that. So let's talk about actually what happened. So fast forward, I think you're in Buenos Aires. You applied for Rio de la Plata, right? Cordoba,
Rosario in Argentina, and I also applied to some so I had these free tickets for Europe, so I found some events in Europe, mostly in the UK. I applied, I think, in total, I can check it because I've got all the applications here in my favorites in Google Chrome. Rosario, Cordoba, Glasgow, Rio de la Plata, it was 6 or 7 in total.
Okay. And you got invited. So I think yeah, there's other, I was looking at other coaches' videos and they were recommending like 30 or 40, which I think is too many. But fast forward, the end of the story is, or the moral of the story is, everyone can probably guess, you got invited to speak at TEDxRioDeLaPlata, which is the exact event that you had been turned down. The one you thought was, there's out of your reach. And I'll leave a link to the video and some photos and stuff below. Right. So you said it was a 2-day event. It was their 10-year anniversary. You said there's 10,000 people. Was it 10,000 people in the room each day or 10,000 people total? Either way, it's a huge,
each day, 20,000 people in total.
Okay. So you spoke on a stage, and there's no way to accurately describe the size of this room. You have to really see the photo to see. It looks like an arena, like a sports arena or something.
It's also used for sports. I've given a presentation in my corporate life, like 10 years ago in Las Vegas, in a hotel, in front of 7,000 people. And I always said that was my largest event ever. And well, yes, this is 3 times that.
Yeah, so you broke your own record.
Yeah, 20,000 people, and it was from the audience, the stage was massive. So it was impressive, the size of the screen behind me, and from the stage, the audience was too massive, probably, because it has as you said, it has this arena, like it was very, very wide and deep. It's not only deep, and when it's only deep, you say, hey, okay, I look there. No, this was like extremely wide, and there were cameras everywhere, and it was really challenging to deliver a speech that could be felt by the audience, but also I was also thinking of the follow-up videos, and I wanted to make sure that. So I remember we did a full rehearsal before, and I remember that one of the feedback they gave me is, Leo, you are looking down at the audience. You're looking only at the first 5 rows. There's 50 rows because I was like this, and when you're like this, so the camera was like at my side, and it was filming in my head basically. So because I didn't know where to look. It was really massive, and it was also so many things happened in the event. So there were, so it was a almost full day, 7 hours, and I was in the last block. So it was very nice, very, I don't know how to, homey. It was, everyone was, we were all friends backstage. Mm-hmm. People, all the other speakers, with the organizing team, there was a social media team with a table by the side with 10 people blogging or tweeting or whatever. There were like 10, 15 photographers, and it was crazy, and it was very demanding, because being like the last, I was not the last, but I was like on the 6th hour. It's like, wow, I need to deliver this. I need to take this out from me. And in fact, the first day, I did an acceptable performance. So from 1 to 10, I would say it was almost 6, barely acceptable. I didn't end up too happy, basically because I was tired, I was tense, so it's not like I couldn't connect. The second day, I loved it. The second day, it was much better. I really enjoyed. I remember clearly the walking from the floor to the stage, like up the stairs. And I remember that the decision I made for the second day, and this is something that might help your other coaches, is I will enjoy every single step. So I achieved this. This is mine. I achieved by my own means. I worked very hard to be here. I will enjoy every single second of it was a short talk, so there were not so many seconds.
Yeah.
So I analyzed both. So I had someone filming myself, and you can see how the second day I walked slower, like significantly slower, and I hugged the MC for a longer time, and I was standing on the stage, and I looked at the audience and connected them, and it's like you can see all that. And if I could test something to most events have only one day, so my suggestion would be enjoy. So you will work a lot to get there. Enjoy delivery. You are there to enjoy, to give, to help the audience, connect with them, do it slowly. There's no, so it's like during the whole process, everyone was very focused on the timing. So all the organizing team was, they said, hey, this has to be perfect. But once you are there, the difference between 11 and 12 minutes is neglectable in the whole schedule.
Right.
If you have 10 minutes and you do 20, too much. But if you walk a little bit slower, so you don't have to run. So they will pressure you. You need to be like comply with their time requests. But once you are there, enjoy it. It's probably it will probably be the only time in your life you will speak in a TEDx event, because that's an analysis you can do. How many? So I would bet only 1% speak more than one time. So probably it's the only time you will speak at a TEDx event. Maybe make it memorable. Enjoy every single step. Connect with the audience. Feel them. Let them feel you. So a conference is not the delivery of an idea. It's the delivery of the feeling of that idea. So you need to be vulnerable. You need to show your emotions. You need to show yourself as human, because if not, send them the transcript if you're not going to to be about to cry or be enthusiastic or raise your hand with passion.
Yeah, love it. Cool. So I'd love to actually, we talked about your results of getting invited to the event that you thought was out of your reach entirely. What would you say to somebody who's thinking of working with me, who's not sure if they could do it? They're not sure. Again, like you were feeling the same about getting turned down before, like not even hearing anything, right? What would be your advice, or what would you say to somebody who's not sure about working with me, or is not sure if they could even, if they have an idea? One of the other things you said to me actually along this is you weren't sure if you had an idea that was good enough to share the stage with your mentors.
Yeah.
And I remember that almost that that was one of the things you were like kind of secretly in the back of your head worried about. And I think a lot of people are secretly worried about the same thing. Like, can they do it? Is it possible? What would you give your advice to them, or what would you say to them?
So I think that probably the biggest value you gave me is the process, is the fact that this is not, in fact, it's funny because after working with you, I said, hey, I could have done this alone. Yes, now that I've done it, like now
that you know everything, now, yeah.
Exactly. Now that so I think that we all have unique ideas. Some are very unique, and some are not so unique. But there is a process for finding them, testing them, challenging them, and seeing and deciding whether they work. In fact, most of my best ideas, I drop them on the way. Most of what I considered
Really?
my best ideas.
Oh, really?
What I eventually presented was not one of my top 3 ideas. So the good news is I still have 3 great ideas I think I can share on stage.
Right.
But eventually what happened is that the it's not one idea fits all. So one of the things I learned on the sessions and on the materials is that most events have like a preference for themes, for different ideas. So it's important to be like to adapt, to understand. So I probably when I failed 3-4 years ago, I was too full of myself, too convinced that, hey, my idea is what will work. And it's much better to be more humble, to like build even several versions of the same idea, several different. So it's not that I had like these colliding ideas and I presented one to one event and the other. It's myself. It's always me. I'm consistent in my ideas, but I presented them differently depending on the event. Mm-hmm. And eventually, when I got to this to this event, which I thought was impossible, it was interesting because what they told me is, okay, you will present, but you will give a nano talk. was that 2 to 3 minutes. And that made me reframe completely my idea. So what I was going to I already thought of like a 12-minute presentation. It was not, I see TEDx talks like going shorter on time, but I never expected at 2, 3, well, I thought I could do it, but I didn't pitch for a 2, 3 minute idea. So eventually I pitched for my ideas and they told me, okay, Leo, we like you, but you have 2, 3 minutes.
Right.
There was another thing there that probably I showed them I can do that.
Right.
So
right.
On the process and on my video and on my application form, I showed them that I was like ready to compress the idea.
Right.
But getting back to your original question, you gave me basically, I would say 2 things, like a process and a sounding board for not only for the content ideas, but also for how to present, for how a TEDx curator thinks. One thing that I'm learning like over the years, it's that people are people. People are humans. They are not machines that they easily sort who would be a great speaker and who would not be a great speaker. They need help to find out that. So I understanding the mind, the goals of the organizers was also very helpful for me. These guys are all, or are mostly, pro bono. They are not making money from this. Probably they might make money from like side effects of TEDx events, but they do this because they want to make the world a better world. And understanding this and understanding how they want to do that, I think was key. So I would say that you gave me like an engineering tool, but also a human tool. So all the process and also understanding the mind of the other one, not only
Right.
the organizers, but also the audience, and later for the sharing of the video. So understanding that it's not about you, it's about them.
Right. Yeah. I really like what you said earlier about your assumptions of what caused you to fail before, right? Of like, oh, I'm a great speaker. I know myself, right? Doesn't matter. Everyone says that. And I think there's, even for really professional, and one of the things I think people can take from you is, it's not like you were a beginner before. Like 3 years ago, it's not like you were an amateur speaker who hadn't done anything, and yet you still got turned down because of your own assumptions about what this took, right? Because this is an approach I'm sure that had always worked before for you. Like, why would it not work for TEDx as well? So even you got turned down, even though you'd spoken previously for 7,000 people in Las Vegas, right? Even you had these assumptions about what it took. Even you were having a little bit of imposter syndrome about, well, this event is too big for me. This event is out of my reach. Even though you were super experienced, even though you've got multiple books out, even though you charge a bunch of money for your speaking compared to the local market in Buenos Aires and Argentina as a whole, even though like all these things were true, you still had these doubts and whatever. You still made these mistakes, and despite that, it was it's not I think what I do is it's been tested over the years. It's a very effective process. It's not rocket science though. I mean, I'm not teaching how to do brain surgery. So it was a very achievable process at the same time to get you to allow you to earn the opportunity you got. Right now, you've spoken.
Yes.
I would say arguably the biggest TEDx event in the world. I think, if not one of the biggest.
Probably.
Right, and 20,000 people is a lot of people. I can't think of any that are larger than that. So cool. And any any closing thoughts that you want to leave people with?
Yes, probably thinking about what you just said. We are humans, we have a lot of fears. I had a lot of fears, even though I would say I'm an expert public speaker, at least relatively to my market. I had fears. Fear should not be a barrier. Fear should be a tool. So once you find a fear, you have fear of rejection, or you have fear of not being able to deliver what you promise on stage. Okay, those were my two fears. Okay, you have two choices. Live by your fears and simply don't do anything, which I did for a couple of years. Or work on your fears. Use your fears so your fear is saying something to you, saying, hey, pay attention to this. You have to do this better. So I had fear of being rejected by the events. Okay, I had a process in which I had more quantity of events, but also I had more quality of application. So statistically, I was reducing that risk.
Right.
And then for delivering, I prepared myself, I worked harder, and I had less chances of failing also. So I would say that people have these doubts, these fears, and we have a choice always. You can let your fear rule, so you won't make it disappear. You will have fear. That's a fact. So you can let it rule, or you can use it as a tool.
I agree. I love it. For me, the way that I think about this is, and maybe this will help you as well. I think of fear as, so if you are a courageous person, that means you do things that scare you. And so if you wait for something to no longer be scary, you are not being courageous.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. Like if so, you can use it as, like you said, a tool or even an opportunity to exhibit courage. And so for you to do this talk on this massive stage to all these people, I'm sure that you, like, your own, not your fears don't go away in the future. There's still other things in the future that you are afraid of, right? But you're now a more courageous person because you've conquered that.
Exactly.
Right?
It's not, well, using some like more fashionable concepts, it's not that you need to get out of your comfort zone. You need to expand it. So these fears are like the limits of your comfort zone.
Right, that's right.
Once you climb that ladder and see that, well, yeah, nobody dies for this. So it's a failure, it's not so bad. And eventually, even failure will expand your comfort zone and will make you larger in some aspect. Like it will make you happier. I used to be much more fearful. So actually, I think I am still as fearful as before, but I used to let my fear run. Now I say, okay, if I try to focus in the aftermath. So, okay, how will I feel if I get to that stage and deliver the talk? and I see the video a couple of months later. How will I feel? Okay, so I try to connect to that and to put that in the weight compared to the fear I was feeling. But anyway, it's reasonable to be fearful. Actually, humankind wouldn't exist without fear. So we need fear of, at least from tigers. And but I chose eventually to use it and to put a process to mitigate that fear, those risks.
I think I think I mentioned this to you as well. I did an Ironman this past year, and for me it was also like it was a big growth thing for me. I did comedy as well. I know we have a mutual love of stand-up comedy. I'm not a very good comic, but anyways, I did it anyways. But I used a coach for my Ironman training because again, I was really afraid of what happens if I don't cross the finish line. Right? But also I was doing it to grow. I was doing the race to push myself as a person. So it wasn't enough just to cross the finish line. Right? And so what I'm hearing you say is you had the same for TEDx. You're like, okay, what do I want to avoid? I want to avoid rejection. I want to avoid wasting time like I did before. I want to do a really good job for my talk. So how do I solve those things? Right? I solve those things by having someone hold my hand and show me what to do, by having a process and like challenging the concepts and that for my talk to make sure that I understand that I have the best way of articulating this from the stage so that I deliver better. And then the only variable in that point is your own nerves and performance on the day. Like, do you wake up and have a crappy sleep and you're tired, or are you nervous for some other reason? And like those are the very small barriers at that point. And then the other things, like you can make sure that you have a great result by picking an event with great video and like a lot of support, and it's well run and it's very organized. And you know, the event that you spoke at TEDxRioDeLaPlata, their team, from what you've told me, was extraordinary in the support they gave you, both in terms of making you feel ready, right? But also making you look great with, hey, Leo, look, this is how you behave on the camera. We're going to have a lot of photographers to make you look awesome. And so you can do a better job for yourself by getting invited to a better event, which does require a better pitch and a better approach. So anyways, if anyone out there, I'll leave a link below if anyone's interested in hopping on a call with me. We can talk about exactly what I did with Leo. And cool. Thank you again, Leo. Really appreciate it. And congratulations again on your TEDx talk.
Congratulations to both of us. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So